production since we'd both graduated. We graduated, like we went to separate acting schools though. Anyway, so I was really upset. But that is where I would have met Sam. I would have met him in the production. Brad, my mate, would have probably introduced, I know what you did and I know who you are. Slay. You know about the chocolate I ate last night that I said definitely wasn't mine to Sam? You called me out. Anyways, so after that was where I would have met him. But I didn't. And I'm so grateful for that because I feel like we were at different periods of our life, different parts of our career. Like, I feel like it would have just been a really generic hi-bye. So I'm glad it didn't happen that way. But also I wonder what would have happened if it did. And I ask Sam this all the time. I always say to him, like, do you think we would have dated back then? Like, do you think you would have pursued anything or would it just have been a hi-bye? Thanks so much for coming, whatever. Anyways, cut to 3 years later. It was a Thursday night. I had a really bad day and I was really contemplating. I was like, nah, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to work. And I remember saying to my roommate, Tweezer, my little Tweezer, if you guys remember her, I was like, no, I'm not going tonight. She's like, oh, okay, all good. And then I think my boss messaged me, was like, a lot of girls have cancelled, can you please come in? And I was like, all right, fine, I'll come in. But I really was adamant on not going in. And this was back when I was living really, really close to the club. So I was like, I don't want to drive or anything else. So I just booked an Uber like I normally did. And, Alyssa's on a muting spree. Look at her. And so I was just like, yeah, nah, all right. Booked an Uber. I looked at the photo and it was like, your driver is Sam. And I was like, huh. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, nah, it couldn't be him. The photo was weird. Like, I don't know, it was kind of like from a downward point of view. Like, it wasn't a great shot. And also, if you saw the photo, you'd be like, oh, maybe it's... I mean, the name would be a dead giveaway. But anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I literally got in the Uber, and also this was back when people were still wearing masks. Like, Uber drivers, the passengers didn't have to wear masks, but the drivers still had to wear masks. So it was like a case-by-case scenario at this point with COVID. So I couldn't really see his face. I got in and I wasn't really, again, I was in a bad mood, so I wasn't really communicating. And I remember him saying like, oh, and there was music blasting in the car. When I rocked up, the music was like blasting. And it didn't bother me. Like, it kind of just drowned out any other noise. So I didn't mind it. I quite liked it. And he was like, oh, I hope you don't mind me like playing music. And I was like, oh, it's fine. It'll get me in the mood for work. And he just kind of giggled. That cute laugh he does, the like, ha, ha. I can hear talking. I wonder if Sam's here. Anyways, we started like driving, and it was a really short trip. It was probably like 10, 12 minutes. Like, it was a really short trip too, which, you know, obviously made me sad, but, you know, in theatre, always leave them wanting more. So he asked me, he's like, oh, we're going to this place. And I was like, yep. And he's like, oh, asking me like, how long have I worked there for? Oh, gee, you're so pretty. I hope be as pretty as you when I become a transgender female. Is that weird? No, but the fact that, I didn't even get to say it, so there's no point, he's gone. Anyways, the amount of times people say I'm trans, I'll never understand that thread. Like, that could seriously upset someone who actually is trans. Like, go say it to someone who actually is on that journey. Like, I think they would appreciate that compliment so much more. Anyways, so yeah, he started asking me about my job. He's like, how long have you worked there? He's like, oh, is this your only job? And I was like, no, I'm an actor. And then he kind of like jolted the brakes. Like, I remember him being like, kind of like, no way. And I was like, yeah, no. I was like, uh-huh. And he's like, oh, I'm an actor too. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And I started to like make more eye contact with him and look at him more. And I was like, maybe it's him. I was like, maybe it is him. Maybe it is who I'm thinking it is. And I remember texting my mate and being like, I think I'm like in a car with your friend Sam. I'm full smiling. I was like, I think I'm in a car. I remember messaging him. I think just before the ride was ending. I was like, I think I'm in a car with this dude. Anyways, your mate. And by the end of it, I knew for sure, because he was like, he's like, where'd you train? And I said, where I trained. And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, cool. And then I was like, where'd you train? And he's like, oh, I'm still training at the moment.